The CBS 21 Political Insiders with Rob Hanrahan.
Tony May is off, and we have a special guest. We have former Lieutenant Governor, former Acting Governor Mark Singal here, also Democratic strategist to hold up the Democrat side. And, of course, I have Republican Charlie Gerow here. Good to see you both.
Good to be with you.
Got a lot of ground to cover. Last night, President Trump announced his Afghanistan plans. There was a lot of buildup to this speech last night. Before we get into the optics of the speech, Mark, did you see any real meat come out of this?
A little. There were some very important statements made about not tolerating Pakistan's harboring of terrorists, and I think that's a good thing. There was also a commitment that said, look, we just can't cut and run, which is a 180 from where he was 1 year ago, saying day one, we're out of Afghanistan, we're spending too much money there. So, I mean, we've come to expect Trump to make these kind of bold reversals. But that's probably a good thing in terms of the stability in the area.
And Charlie, I saw last night the president actually saying, I've been listening to my advisors,
Listen to his generals.
And they have said that the view from the Oval Office is a lot different than from outside. I thought that was a pretty profound statement.
It was a good speech last night, a solid speech. I heard former Congressman Don Ritter, who probably knows more about Afghanistan than anybody in Pennsylvania, certainly, and he was applauding President Trump's approach last night. This is a very tough situation, and I'm sure Governor Singal agrees with me. When we've been there longer than we have been in any other war, 16 years, and the real question becomes, what is the ultimate objective, and how do you accomplish that? I agree with Mark. You know, some of the things we heard last night were very good, but ultimately, what's the pathway out?
Okay, well, that's right. Let me say that. There's no exit strategy. There were no specifics at all there. One troubling aspect was Donald Trump saying, we're going to go to war, we're going to win this thing, trust me. I'm not sure he's earned my trust.
Well, let's see if he addresses this tonight. He's got this big rally in Phoenix. Obviously, I think both of you feel it's too early to be running for office re-election at this point, right, for 2020.
Way too early.
But it is a campaign rally paid for by his campaign to get him out there. This is, Mark Singal, one of those times where we've seen a president who on one day from the teleprompter is one way and the next day without it he's not. These rallies really get him fired up as well as his base voters. Are you expecting any surprises?
Probably not, unfortunately. And you're right, he just shifts. He's like a chameleon. When he's on his own, he's unhinged and says crazy things and doesn't respond well to the racist activities in Charlottesville. And then the staff kind of reins him in and gets him on teleprompter again, and he sounds almost like he's half reasonable. And then he has enough of that, and he heads out to a rally, and I guarantee you he's going to fire up the crazy crowd again and do the campaign rhetoric that he loves so much. It's like a tonic for him.
Your take on tonight?
Well, President Trump loves these rallies, Rob, and they've worked pretty well for him. Just for the record, they're required by law to be paid for by his campaign committee, so they aren't necessarily campaign events, because it is way too long to be starting to talk about 2020. 2018, though, is in focus, and it is in Arizona because Jeff Flake, the senator there, is being challenged in a primary there, and President Trump, although he hasn't yet made an endorsement, has certainly weighed in favor of Jeff Flake's opponent.
The president certainly said there's no love lost between the two of them now, especially since Flake wrote the book.
It's been very critical.
Charlie Gerow on our special guest, Mark Singal. Thank you for being here, both of you, as usual. To hear more from our political insiders, join us for Face the State, Sunday morning, starting at 8:30.